Hello, everybody. TiggFozz69 here today. It's a relaxed Saturday. I'm here in my um, Darth Vader sugar sort of a pajama top, I guess, is what you would call it. Anyway, life is moving forward, whether or not we're ready for it. There's so many things that I would love to talk about with people, and unfortunately, without people here, I'm just going to monologue. I guess today's stream is more about where do I find in my life where do I find myself? Well, I find myself not wanting to go back to the life I had pre-pandemic. I don't know about you guys. What do you think? The the point of my discussion today is that a lot of us have found that what we did before the pandemic hit to make a living has either one completely disappeared, two is is no longer fulfilling, and three isn't really what I wanted to be doing or we wanted to be doing with our lives. I had, before the pandemic, settled, let's call it that, settled into a bartending job. Bartending in Broadway theaters, where I used to perform on the stages. I I used to be a major performer. I was a dancer for years in a dance company out of Chicago called Gus Giordano's Jazz Dance Chicago. I was a major in that. I was the assistant associate director for 3.5 years before I decided to leave that job to pursue what I always wanted to do. Before that, before I got into the dance company, I had in the back of my head the whole time I was going to school for musical theater, I wanted to be a musical theater performer. I wanted to be on Broadway. Well, I eventually got to do that after leaving Gus's company, after I left the dance company. The actor's life is not, let's just call it, it's very unglamorous. It looks glamorous for like the big top 1% of people in the business. It's not. You end up being um, one of those people in the background um, of a movie that stands around forever or sits around forever during the day and then comes out and goes from this point to that point and then back to one and back to two and then back to one and back to two, just over and over and over all day, just so they can get the scene, like a few seconds of a scene, a few seconds of a movie, a few seconds of a TV show. Yeah, you're getting paid for it. Wow. Ooh. Yeah, so that's all. Every single person, usually every single person you see on screen is there getting paid to be there. They may look like just random people on the street, but that is an actual actor. acting like a random person on the street. I did that after moving to New York. I did that for a little while here in New York. Then I kept auditioning for stage, and I ended up finally getting that Broadway gig. How did I get the Broadway gig? When I auditioned for Gus's company, I saw a production of Cats. Okay, that's a long time ago. Very first Broadway production. It was in London before it was here. Anyway, I digress. I saw Cats the same weekend that I auditioned for the company that I ended up working for 6.5 years. Um, then when I moved to New York, it was still playing here. So being a dancer and having loved it, and I auditioned and I kept going and till I got it. I auditioned 11 times for Cats. Usually there's a callback. I usually got through to the callback. Then I never got to the second callback. There's usually the audition, the first callback, the second callback, and then the third callback is when they actually basically make sure they've cast it correctly and give you the contract. Usually, over and over and over, I had auditioned, and I had gotten tired of not getting the Broadway gigs. In the meantime, I had gotten regional theater gigs, uh, theater up in Connecticut, theater over in New Jersey, theater theaters around the United States, I should say, because that was like the summer theater gigs that you see in tons of movies. How they have somebody in a summer camp or summer stock theater. Anyway, those gigs, they were fine. I enjoyed them, and felt like a a big fish, a big fish in a small pond, and I wanted to be at least a fish in the big pond, which is New York. So because Cats had been the only one that had really taken an interest in me, um, I auditioned for a European tour of Cats, and I got it just by being able to speak German. I had been in um, in my college days. I was a music major first, thinking I was going to become a band leader, or a high school, or some sort of school band leader, and because I that was my life before I left high school, was marching band, rifle captain, helping uh, write the drill for the band, everything band. That was my life. So I thought, well, okay, let's go into music education. Oh boy, did I hate it. I loved I loved making the music. I loved playing my flute. Yes, I'm a flute player. Not no jokes there. Flutist, whatever you want to call it, I was a flute player. A very good one too, and I still can play. I just don't. Anyway, I digress again. Um, After having been a music education major for a few years, I realized I didn't want to do that. I no. What? So then I decided to change my major. And I changed my major to performing arts. Well, in the school I went to, when you majored in performing arts, you had to have a direction for that, because it was music, dance, and theater all put together, but you had to be going in one of those directions. You had to tell them one was your chosen direction? Well, I had all these music classes that I had already gone through, voice classes, taking German, taking Italian, taking all this stuff that I had taken that I didn't want to just get rid of. So I had a double emphasis. That's the word, emphasis. So I had a double emphasis of music and dance. I still had all the theater classes as well. So I had music, dance, and theater, but music and dance were my two main emphases. Emphasize. Is that the word? I don't know. Anyway, the point of that story is after 4.5 years of being in college, two of which were music education, and then 2.5 more were the performing arts with the double emphasis. That's when I auditioned for this dance company up in Chicago and got it. And I was given a scholarship to go to their school. At the same time, I was given a scholarship to come back to the next year of college. And I was like, wait, a, a scholarship to come to a college to learn how to be in a dance company or a theater company, or just take the scholarship to the dance company. So I chose the dance company. I went right into my dance company years. After the dance company years, I realized I still want to do theater. Then we went on um, to the Cats European tour. And the reason, like I said, that I got that was all of that music. Um, Learning German to be able to sing some of the arias or the anything classical music that was written in German. Because I had learned that, that's how I ended up getting hired quickly, excuse me, into this European tour, because not only were we going to perform Cats in English, we were also going to perform it in German. So it was German and English together. Some days German, some days English, some days both, because you would have a German speaking matinee performance and then a English speaking evening performance. And sometimes our brains would not click and we would speak the wrong language anyway. And somebody would look at us like, no, wrong language. And you would know exactly what they meant just from a look. Like, nope, nope, other language. And then you would switch. Anyway, I keep digressing, but that's what this is about. It's chatting, right? I'm chatting. You're just learning a little more about me, and um, that's fine. That's I'm glad that you're able to enjoy it. Hopefully, and in the meantime, let's continue the story. Here I am in Europe doing cats, and our last our the city that we're in for the last 6 months of me being there was Vienna. So I literally lived in Vienna, Austria. Had my own apartment. I flew my parents over to Vienna so that they could come see Vienna and then see Cats in Europe, see me in Cats. That's when I was Skimbleshanks. Um, I have shown a picture of myself. You'll see it. It's in the covers. It's in one of the thumbnails even of one of my YouTube videos. But you've seen it in my other videos. And if you hadn't, go back and watch. Um, the thing is after I had done cats in Europe and I came back to America, all of a sudden they had a lot more interest in me because I knew the show. It was not exactly the same, but it was basically the same. Pretty much the same choreography. There are a couple of different numbers. Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteaser's number are completely different if you do the European version or the American version. Uh, there's the Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteaser, that one, or the Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteaser, that one. So there's two different versions of that song. Basically, it's still the same number, but and then there's other slight differences in the choreography and even the way that they want you to be a cat. The European version, they really wanted you to be almost jungle cat. Whereas here in the U.S., we had to be like house cats and maybe alley cats, but not too aggressive. Just the friendly alley cats, your friendly bodega cat. For those of you who live in New York and know about bodega cats, there's always a cat. If you go into a little, like a convenience store, let's talk about it like you're in the rest of the U.S. It's called a convenience store everywhere else. Here in New York, it's a bodega. Anyway, you go into these bodegas, there's always a cat. At least one. Why? Because they're actually helping the bodega keep the rats away. There's tons, I'm talking tons of rats in New York. If you have never been to New York, I'm telling you, there's rats. And they're not just little rats. They're rats. They're big, huge. Oh, they're bigger than the cats sometimes. Anyway, all you have to do is walk past a construction site, and they have these little built tunnels that you have to walk through on the sidewalks, and have something break through, and all these rats come into that tunnel with you to know you don't want to mess with these rats. I had that happen once. I was walking through one of those tunnels, and something broke through, and it was a whole bunch of rats. And they were huge, and they were running, and I ran the other way. I was like, nope, oh, no. So, another digression there, but that's the point of chats, right? If I had somebody here actually talking to me, we would be able to chat back and forth. But I'm just letting myself ramble, and pretty soon I will just jump into a game, but a few more minutes here. Let's finish this story up. So, come back from Europe. They know that I know the show, the cats generally the show, and they're looking for somebody to go on a national tour of cats and be a cover for all of the smaller cats, or what we called the kittens. Anybody who was under I'm 5'6", so anybody 5'6" and under were the kittens. And then there are the other cats, like the Munkus Trap or the Rum Tum Tugger, or any of those tall cats that got to sing and have their own number just by themselves. Usually were tall. Anyway, didn't matter for the kittens and the kitten numbers. It didn't matter for Skimbleshanks, which is who I was. He was okay being a smaller cat because he was supposed to be older, so he's shrunk back down. Anyway, so I knew the show. I auditioned again. I got through all the callbacks, and I got a tour, national tour. a few months into the national tour, when I had first gotten back from Europe, I had within the first month back been diagnosed. Back in that time, it wasn't a pandemic. It was, yes, it was a pandemic, but it was a different kind of pandemic, HIV. So I came back from Europe, from the European tour, and within a month had been diagnosed with HIV. So that's been years ago. It's over 20 some odd years now that I've lived with that. And I'm healthy and I'm happy and I'm positive. Yes, I'm HIV positive, meaning I am living life to the fullest, deciding, is this what I want to do? If it's not, keep going. Anyway, that's how my life has been. I went on to the Cats tour, and within months of being on the Cats tour, they came out with a new trial for a new drug. And I was offered the trial, but I couldn't do it while I was on tour. So I had to leave the tour. I had to ask, or I just talked with them and I said, look, this is what's going on in my life and I need you to know I really want to try this. So I left the tour after all that time of wanting to be in the show here in the US. I finally was in it, and then I had to leave it. But it was a good decision. The drug was helpful. It wasn't the best. It left an aluminum taste in my mouth, and I basically took myself off of that drug. But then by that time, they already had another drug. Anyway, that's another day. We'll talk about that another day. We're talking about career and choices, life choices, and the career that I had chose was musical theater. Well, came back to New York so I could take that drug test. But while I was back here, all of a sudden, they needed somebody in the Broadway cast of Cats. What they needed was somebody who pretty much knew the show and could go in immediately, and who also could possibly cover all the people that I had just been covering out on the national tour. The one person that they needed me for was somebody who had injured themselves so badly that they needed to get out of the show. And they couldn't. There are swings covers here on Broadway as well, but they couldn't lose the cover just for that person all the time because they had to cover all the other people, just like I had been doing out on the tour. So while he was covering them, they taught me the differences in the tour and the European tour, all the different little differences that there were, and threw me in. So then for like a month, I was that character. There are these two twin psychic cats. I was Coracapat of the Coracapat and Tantamile psychic twin cats that are on Broadway. I got to play Coracapat for a month. Or it may have been more than a month. Anyway, I digress. Again, the point is they hired me as a cover for him. Then while I was there, they realized they needed to give everybody a vacation. So they hired me as a vacation swing for all of those cats that I already had sort of learned from being in Europe, from being out on the tour. They hired me as a vacation swing. Vacation swing meaning this person goes on vacation, you cover him. So then I covered everybody's vacation. By the end of that, everybody's vacation was over. I was still there, and I didn't really have a position. I was there just to be a cover in case, and they realized they had a cover already. They already had the swing that I was on the tour, and here's this other cover. So I was the second one hired. I was the one who went poof. And they were like, bye, I'm sorry we don't have a job for you anymore. And I was like, fine, okay. So that was my time on Broadway. It was only a half a year. Half a year of covering people for their vacations, and then poof. When they had the big, at the end of Cats on Broadway, they had they called everybody back. They got in touch with everybody, and everybody came back for this big celebration. I wasn't called. I was not called. I didn't get an email. I didn't get a call. Nobody let me know that there was this big celebration and that they wanted everybody who could to come back and do it. Luckily for me, the reason I think they didn't get in touch with me is because I was now out on another tour, and that's when I did Beauty and the Beast. And I did Beauty and the Beast out on national tour, the third national tour of Beauty and the Beast, for 4 years. 4 years of my life, again, being a swing, covering everybody else who got the role. So my career, other than the dance company, when I was actually a leader and I was teaching classes and I was teaching all the choreography for the company, and I was doing a lot of things and performing internationally. Other than that dance company time, the rest of my career, other than regional theaters or summer stock theaters where I did something in the chorus, I've never really had my own role except for in Europe when I was Skimbleshanks. Skimbleshanks in Europe, I had two fans, as you were, that would follow me from city to city, and they threw a teddy bear at me on my last night. I still have that teddy bear on my bed. His name's Tuka. Anyway, let's circle back to the beginning of this conversation. And the beginning of this conversation was, at the beginning of pandemic time, everybody had a job. Pandemic hit, lots of jobs disappeared. My job at the time was bartending in the Broadway theaters because I wasn't getting hired anymore to do any of the Broadway theater gigs. I'm getting old. I'm turning 58 this month. That's old for a Broadway dancer. It's good for character actor, which is good, but I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm gay, and it comes across. You can hear it in my S's. I hiss a lot. I lisp. There are things about me that scream gay, especially when you're auditioning for a very straight role. Even when I was doing Beauty and the Beast on tour, I finally got to cover LeFou, and they really made me start talking with my S's like Sean Connery would. Sean Connery uses his S's. He flattens his tongue. Sean, he changed the way he speaks. Speaks his S's like this instead of like this, because S's this way, the way I naturally speak them, hiss and have a lot of s. You don't want that on stage. So they would make me either flatten my S's like Sean Connery or use a Z. Z's for S's. S's. Anyway, another digression, another talk for another day. My point, let's get back. Pre-pandemic, all that. Jobs lost. Bartending because I wasn't getting work. The bartending job, poof, because Broadway just went boop. Nobody could be in a enclosed space like that, or they would get COVID. Get COVID, and we had at the beginning of the pandemic, we had a few people from our Broadway theaters who got COVID, some of which died almost immediately. So for me, it was like HIV, it was like AIDS crisis all over. So I went into AIDS crisis mode and cut myself off from everything like we had to do back then. This time, however, it was the entire population and not just these gay men that had to worry about it. And so now all of a sudden everybody got all bent out of shape. Nobody got so bent out of shape back in the HIV days, did they? Some of us did, yeah. Some of us were very bent out of shape, and some of us lost almost entire groups of friends. I lost an entire dance company. That's how I became who I was back then. The dance company that I got hired into, we lost people. People died. All of a sudden, other than that, I have other friends who went on to do both Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson's national tours. Lavelle, Jimmy, you know who you are. You've seen Lavelle and Jimmy in the beginning together of Janet Jackson's Miss You Much video. You know Lavelle, you know Jimmy. Those are the two that I came in and basically had to replace in my dance company because they went off on tour. I did Lavelle's stuff, I did Jimmy's stuff, I did all of their dances after they left. The two of them together. And I'm a white 5'6" guy. Lavelle is tall black, Jimmy was very short black. So put the guy who's in the middle into these two very vibrant and very, let's just say, charismatic dancers. That was another time in my life. But anyway, I was basically taking over for somebody else. I guess the point of my discussion today and the thing I wanted to say was pre-pandemic, everybody had a job. We had a job that disappeared, a lot of us, and then now it's sort of, the pandemic is starting to come to a close. It's starting to get under control. We're starting to get a little light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of people have already gone back to work. I have chosen not to go back to the bartending job on purpose because that was not what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was, and always has been, to connect with people in the way that I can connect with people. I really enjoy performing. I really enjoy dancing. I'm getting older, so I can't do that. I am about to undergo and hopefully become, I am training to be an online dance exercise therapy type person for a company that I know that is run by another friend of mine, and hopefully I will become that. We always are here on Twitch playing games. Now, I've noticed myself just playing games and basically not talking. I like when people come in and chat with me while I'm playing, but that's not going to happen for a while. So I am basically sitting here talking to myself and playing a game, which is fine. I'm enjoying it, but I've noticed it's not a really good video for someone to watch later. I've started deciding this is the way I liked to Uh, I was in a community that has since gone under, of people who were supporting each other here on Twitch, and we were going to each other's streams in a big raid, and the raid would go all day, and we called it the raid train. So the raid train would just go to each person's stream for an hour, another hour, etc. And people would sign up. It was a whole deal. It was becoming a big issue for the person who had started it. Everybody was yelling and infighting. I don't blame him. He was like, this is... So what I've decided to do with the rest of my game streaming, as long as it's on Twitch, when I put it here, when I play something here, I'm going to talk about the way I play it, because even my hubby plays games differently than I do. Maybe somebody else plays it differently than the two of us do. So there are many, many, many ways to play games. Always has been, always will be. So let's all work together and just remember that nobody's way is wrong. Nobody has a right and wrong way to play games. Yes, there are rules in each game that you basically have to follow, and especially when it's an online, when it's a video game, those rules are already written into the code, so you cannot break those rules unless you're actually writing code and breaking rules that way, which people do. Those are the people that we don't want. If you have to rewrite code, if you have to write a cheat into a game in order to play it or feel like you can win it, then that game isn't for you. Go away. Just choose another game and enjoy playing the game you like to play. Don't screw up the games for everybody else by trying to rewrite the code or put in a cheat or just any of those kind of things that you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Don't do it. There's a game out there for you that's already written the way it should be for you. You're gonna find it. Just keep looking. Find the game you like to play the way it's supposed to be played within the parameters it's already gotten set up. You don't have to rewrite, nothing added. You don't have to modify anything. You just go in and you play it and you enjoy it and you have fun. That's the point. Find a game you like to play and play it yourself. Okay, I'm getting off my soapbox now. I love playing with people in games, as long as we can enjoy each other's company and play positively together.